All right, so let's dive right in. Washington is buzzing,
Yeah.
about this whole thing with Matt Gaetz and his nomination for Attorney General. It's well, it's a story with some serious accusations, a lot of political maneuvering,
Mm,
and we've got a ton of news articles, expert commentary. We're going to unpack it all today, right here.
yeah. I think what makes this situation so interesting is, we're dealing with this potential ethics report. Could be released any day now. And this report stems from a House Ethics Committee investigation,
Mhm.
and it could really impact Gates's chances of actually being confirmed as Attorney General.
Right. So I think for people who haven't been following every single development here, let's start with who Matt Gaetz is.
Yeah.
So he's a former Florida representative,
Mhm.
known for being a strong Trump ally. But during his time in the House, he faced some pretty serious accusations. We're talking sex trafficking,
Mhm.
involvement with a minor, drug use, even
Yeah.
paying for sex.
Yeah, and it's important to understand that these aren't just rumors or political mudslinging. These allegations are serious enough that they sparked a full investigation by the House Ethics Committee.
Right.
And remember, this committee is made up of both Republicans and Democrats. So the fact that they went as far as compiling a report, even though Gates resigned before they could vote on it, suggests that they found something pretty substantial.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not nothing. This report is like a ticking time bomb,
Yeah.
just waiting to go off. And that's why its release has become such a point of contention. Speaker Mike Johnson,
Huh.
who basically controls whether or not this report is made public,
Mm.
he is arguing against it.
Right.
He's saying that it would set a bad precedent and could lead to all sorts of similar reports against other lawmakers. He even used the term Pandora's box,
Oh, wow.
which really gives you a sense of the potential chaos that he's worried about.
Probably like opening the floodgates.
Exactly.
However, the Ethics Committee, they're not really backing down. Chairman Michael Guest has made it clear that the committee will make its decision based on what they think is right, regardless of any political pressure.
Right. So they're saying, we're going to do what we think is right.
Right.
And then you've got Representative Susan Wild,
Hmm.
the ranking Democrat on the committee.
Right.
She's all about transparency. She wants the report released,
Mm-hmm.
both to the Senate, who would be responsible for confirming Gaetz, and to the public at large.
Yeah. So you have these two very different viewpoints.
Yeah, it's a real clash
Yeah.
between protecting the privacy of politicians,
Mm.
even ones who might have made some serious mistakes. And on the other hand, you have the public's right to know about the people who are in these powerful positions, especially a position as important as the Attorney General.
Exactly. And the situation gets even more complicated when you consider the testimony of two women who were represented by Attorney Joel Leppert. They claim they were part of a group of women who attended these parties with Gaetz, where drugs and sex were involved. And one of the women even alleges that she saw Gaetz with a minor. And to make things even more complicated, they provided details about alleged payments made through apps like Venmo and PayPal.
Wow, it's a lot to take in. And we should also mention that the Justice Department did conduct its own investigation into Gaetz, but ultimately they decided not to press charges.
Right. So we have an ethics investigation and a Justice Department investigation.
Right, two separate things.
Yeah.
Of course, Gaetz himself, he has denied all these allegations vehemently, especially the one involving a minor, calling it completely false.
Okay, so we have allegations, investigations, denials. It raises the question of what level of evidence is needed to disqualify someone from holding such a powerful position. Should the mere existence of these allegations, even without criminal charges, be enough to derail a political career?
Right.
These are tough questions with no easy answers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really tough situation. I mean, where do you even begin to sort through all of this?
Yeah, it's complicated,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, it really makes you think about what evidence should matter and how it all plays out in the political arena, because this whole Gaetz controversy, it's not just a legal battle. It's also become this major political battleground,
Yeah.
especially with Gaetz being a Trump nominee.
Yeah, and it's interesting how Gates's own actions might have actually hurt his chances. He was a key player in that whole push to remove Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House, a move that really caused a lot of division in the Republican Party.
Right. It really rubbed some people the wrong way. Even some Republicans thought Gaetz went too far, like he was creating unnecessary turmoil. Makes you wonder if those actions are coming back to haunt him now.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And then, of course, you have the Trump factor. Despite all the allegations and the potential fallout, Trump's remained completely behind Gaetz.
Right.
He's made it clear that he has no intention of withdrawing the nomination.
Yeah, that's classic Trump. Defying expectations.
Yeah.
Sticking by his allies no matter what.
Yeah, really highlights the bond between those two. And it's not just Trump. There are several Republican senators who are backing Trump's right to choose his cabinet, even if they have reservations about Gaetz. Their argument is the president won the election, and he has the right to assemble his team.
Right. So it brings up that question
Hmm.
about the balance of power between the president and the Senate.
Hmm.
Does the Senate really have a duty to scrutinize these nominations based on ethical concerns? Or should they defer to the president's choices?
Yeah, it's a debate that's been going on forever, and this case really brings it front and center. And while all this is happening, Gaetz is not just waiting around. He's been actively working to secure those Senate votes. We've seen him meeting with different senators, often accompanied by Senator-elect J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
He seems to be acting as his, political wingman.
Trying to smooth things over.
Yeah.
And then you have that statement from Senator Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
After he met with Gaetz and Vance, I mean, he didn't say outright how he'd vote, but he expressed concern that the confirmation was turning into what he called an angry mob, where these unverified allegations are treated like facts.
Wow.
He even compared it to a lynch mob, which is pretty strong language even for Lindsey Graham.
Yeah. It suggests that he thinks Gaetz is being unfairly targeted, judged before all the facts are out. It'll be interesting to see if other senators agree.
Yeah.
And if it influences their vote.
Yeah, because this whole situation really shows how much personal relationships and political maneuvering can overshadow actual policy and qualifications in Washington.
Absolutely.
It's a real mess. And for you, the listener, it's important to consider this. Is all the focus on these allegations obscuring a bigger issue? Is Matt Gaetz even qualified to be Attorney General? Does he have the experience, the temperament, the judgment to hold such a powerful position?
Right.
Or is this really all about political loyalty and payback? I mean, these are serious questions.
Absolutely. And to really understand the potential impact of Gaetz's nomination, we need to understand the role of the Attorney General.
Okay. So for those who may not be familiar with all the ins and outs of the U.S. legal system, what exactly does the Attorney General do?
Right. So the Attorney General is the head of the Department of Justice, responsible for representing the United States government in legal matters. They oversee federal law enforcement agencies like the FBI and the DEA. They play a key role in shaping legal policy. They advise the president on legal issues. And they have a lot of power in deciding which cases to pursue and how to enforce the law.
So it's a really influential position. They're setting the tone for how justice is carried out in the country.
Exactly. And that's why the qualifications and character of this person are so crucial. They need a deep understanding of the law, a commitment to justice, and the ability to make those tough decisions with integrity.
Right. So given the importance of this position, the stakes here are really high. And that brings us back to the question of Geitz's qualifications.
Well, Gaetz's supporters, they like to point to his background, his time on the House Judiciary Committee, as proof that he's qualified. They say he's got a sharp legal mind and that he really gets how the justice system works.
Okay, so they're saying he's got the experience, but then his critics, they say he's never actually held a high-level legal position. Plus, there's this cloud of these allegations hanging over him.
Yeah.
They say it makes him completely unfit to lead the Justice Department, that he might let his personal loyalties or even political pressure affect his decisions.
Yeah.
Which could really damage the integrity of the department.
Right, and that's a valid concern. It really shows how important the Senate confirmation process is. You know, it's their job to vet these nominees, look at their qualifications, and weigh the risks.
Right.
I think the hearings for Gaetz's nomination are going to be pretty intense.
Yeah, but
We can expect tough questions about his past, his expertise, his vision for the department.
it's going to be a wild ride for sure. This whole situation is crazy. It shows the tension between political loyalty and accountability. Like, how do we balance those two things?
Easily.
I mean, what standards should we hold our leaders to? How do we balance personal relationships with the public good?
Right. It's a tough one. And it has big consequences. I mean, what happens with Gaetz could set a precedent for future appointments. It could affect how seriously we take these allegations, how much weight we give to political connections, and ultimately what kind of people end up in positions of power. So,
If we're trying to sum up this deep dive into the Matt Gaetz controversy,
yeah.
what should our listeners take away?
Well, I think it boils down to this. This case forces us to look at some basic questions about our system. How do we balance the idea of innocent until proven guilty with the need to hold people accountable? How do we make sure people in power are ethical? And how do we stop personal and political agendas from interfering with justice.
Man, that's deep. It's way bigger than just Matt Gaetz.
It is.
It's about our democracy.
Right.
So as this story unfolds,
Yeah.
we have to stay informed. We need to have discussions
Yeah.
and hold our leaders accountable.
Absolutely. Pay attention to what happens in the Senate. Watch those hearings. Read different opinions. Make up your own mind, because the future of our justice system depends on citizens who are informed and engaged.
Kind of said it better myself. And as always, we encourage you to keep digging into this, read different viewpoints, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask the tough questions. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.